it's about that time again for us on radio to talk about matters that matters. So I welcome you to the issues on IKD 106.1 FM, where we talk about matters around our nation. But you already know every Thursday, such as this one, we have healthy conversations, and these conversations are in line, in partnership as well with the General Hospital Ikorodu, where we talk about our health. Health, they say, is wealth, and that is why we have General Hospital every Thursdays turning up for us here in the studio so as to enlighten the general public. Today being another very beautiful Thursday morning, I welcome you to the issues where we will talk about this deadly virus called the monkeypox. Some will say mpox, but whichever way you define it, it is okay to know that this virus is deadly. It has taken a lot of lives from time immemorial, and up until today, this monkeypox remains same, being a deadly virus. Today on the issues, we talk about the monkeypox virus. And of course, record tells us that sometimes ago in 2021, a lot of states in Nigeria had this heavy reaction of monkeypox. Talk about in Lagos, Rivers, Delta, Edo, Ogun State, Bayelsa, and some other states. That was in 2021. It was a very bitter year, if you would recall. And again, this is 2024. The records are coming all out as I speak with you. Edo has their records. River State as well has their records. Some other states all over Nigeria has the records that monkeypox is here again. And that is why it is important for us to have this conversation. How best can you prevent this deadly disease, this deadly virus called monkeypox? How best can you treat it? How best can you care for someone who is currently suffering from monkeypox? I am Opeyemi Adebambo, and I welcome you to the issues. I'm not alone in the studio. I have my very vast medical practitioner. This is a man that is not just handsome. I like to call him dark and shine, and he's as handsome as his voice too. And he sure knows his onions well within the medical space. He goes by the name Dr. Ojikutu. It's good to have you in the studio again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us again. And like always, you're looking radiant.
Thank you so much.
So today we talk about monkeypox. This is a virus that we all know how deadly this virus is. First off was in, I think, 1998, but then it was looking strange. It was not very common. And then 2021, it became clear to African nations, not just Nigeria. And a lot of African countries, Togo, Benin Republic, Ghana inclusive, Zambia as well, started recording a lot of number of death cases with monkeypox. And this is 2024 again. Dr. Ojikutu, monkeypox is here again. And this is a cause for alarm. Let's start with Lagos, for instance. I want to know, are there cases of monkeypox in Lagos, or have there been any record whatsoever here in Ikorodu General Hospital that there's this patient out there waiting for you and is a monkeypox patient? Has there been any cases of such?
Well, for Lagos has had quite a number of cases. NCDC has listed states that have actually had active cases. Lagos is definitely on that list. We have Bayelsa, we have Cross River, and the likes. But we are in Lagos. So yes, monkeypox is actually in Lagos. Okay, but for General Hospital here in Ikorodu, has there been any cases at all? Well, for patient confidentiality, we won't be able to discuss that. Okay. Let's just say there are cases in Lagos. Okay, so we should stay with Lagos where we are. Exactly. Okay, knowing fully well that monkeypox is here and it is real. Some people, not everybody, are of the assumption that these are just mere sayings. These are just social media plots and all of that. But you've confirmed it. The monkeypox is in Lagos. There are cases in Lagos and other states, but there has been no record of deaths. There are no casualties as regards monkeypox. So let's start with this deadly virus. When we say monkeypox, what is monkeypox? Okay, so monkeypox is a viral infection that causes the disease that we are all talking about now. They termed it monkeypox because it was first identified in a monkey, and that was somewhere in Denmark. That was about before the 1960s. And the first case in Africa was in DRC. That's the called Congo. And that was about maybe 1967 or thereabout. And it was first identified in a baby. So that's to tell you that it can affect anybody. If a baby that is less than 1 year has monkeypox, then it means anybody can get it. So it's a viral infection, and it's very, very virulent. It's something that can be transmitted very easily. There is this other deadly disease too, chicken pox. And people sometimes put them together. When it's chickenpox, they think it's monkeypox. When it's mpox, they think it's chickenpox. So what's the difference between? We are going to talk about the symptoms and the signs and the causes of mpox. But before then, how can one differentiate chickenpox from monkeypox?
All right, so they are relatively similar.
Okay.
Um, for people that are not trained, it might be difficult to differentiate them.
Mm.
However, the parts of the body affected most times can give it away. Monkeypox would affect the sole of the feet and the palm. It's not likely for someone to have chickenpox and you have the rash on your palm. It's not very likely. So most of the time, that can give it away. But really, it's better to play safe. Don't assume that you know.
Don't assume that you know.
You never can tell.
So having said that, if you're listening today, we're talking about the monkeypox virus on IKD 106.1 FM. Of course, the program is The Issues, and today we will learn. We have our doctor friend in the house, Dr. Ojikutu, helping us through this conversation. Now going down to mpox itself, I want you to help our listeners understand how deadly this virus could be, because yes, we have heard, we do not know how through. You will help us also clarify that mpox is something that if it comes, don't worry, Jerry, it will go by itself. You don't need to stress yourself, don't have headache about it. But yet we still hear that it kills. There are casualties. So how deadly exactly is this mpox, or is something that if it happens, come on, don't worry, like they say, it will come and go?
All right, so it's good to clarify that every virus can be deadly.
Okay.
So even the normal respiratory tract infection caused by a virus can be deadly. And not, let's go on down to mpox.
Okay.
So for mpox, it comes with symptoms that are similar to many other infectious processes. So you can have fever, you can have body pains. People who have that will just assume it's malaria. Now you are treating malaria when you actually have mpox. That period of not receiving the adequate care you need can actually bring down the body's defense system and cause you to likely be at risk of a mortality from mpox because you are treating it wrongly. Now, mpox, yes, for some people, they just have symptoms for a few days and they are fine. But we all cannot be in the same category. Our immune systems are different. Our body reacts to diseases differently. So for some people, it might actually bring them down to the point of death. How do you now know who is going to die from mpox? You never can tell.
One can
So
tell.
don't ignore when you see the signs. Don't assume that it's just mpox, it will go. Well, you can be lucky, but who wants to try? Or who wants to gamble with his own
Nobody
life?
wants to actually.
So it's better not to gamble.
Okay, now, still talking about this conversation, because we would like to accommodate questions and contributions from our people out there who are listening to the issues at this time, talking about the monkeypox virus. This monkeypox virus, you've made it known how deadly it could be, just like any other virus. Another side of mpox is the fact that they say it would come and go, like I said earlier. Please clarify the air on that. Is it possible? Are there tendencies or are there cases at all that one is being affected with this disease and then it goes by itself naturally?
Okay, so majority of people with mpox would have a very mild form. However, there are strains to mpox.
Okay.
So there are different categories of mpox. So if you have a virulent strain, it's not likely to go on its own. And there's no way you can identify what strain you have just by symptoms. And that's why we say it's not something that you can assume that will go on its own. Yes, a large majority of people would actually have mpox, and in a few weeks, they are fine. With good care.
With good care,
With
in
good
quotes,
care.
yes.
However, even with care, some might not make it. So if you are assuming that, oh, what I have is just normal mpox that will go, when the symptoms get out of hand, it might be too late to redeem that person. So that's why we say we always advocate for early presentation and treatment. If you come early, we are almost 99% sure that you will go home fine.
Is mpox contagious? Can it be contracted from
Great.
someone?
So just like the old COVID we had some years ago, mpox is also very contagious.
Very contagious.
Just by speaking with someone that has mpox, you can actually pick up mpox.
Without physical contact?
Well,
just speaking with the person?
There are postulations that say that it can be in saliva. So I can be talking with someone and is blabbing, saliva is flying all over the place. I pick up that. I can have mpox from that. So yes, you might not have a direct contact per se, but somehow there's still a direct contact because they are contacting the person's body fluids. So yes, even sexually transmitted.
Wow.
Yes, because people can have the rash around the genitals, and that can be transmitted too.
Before we talk about the signs and the symptoms of mpox, because that is very important for people to know, let's go through what actually causes mpox. You said it earlier that it was actually discovered in a monkey, and that is why it is called monkeypox. And then gradually, it was first discovered in Africa in a child. Then what causes it? Why do we have monkeypox? Where is this monkeypox coming from?
Okay, so I would make reference to some other viruses.
Okay.
Let's look at Ebola.
Okay.
People said, oh, Ebola was first discovered in bats and all that. Yes. But because there's a very, should I say, cordial relationship between Africans or people all over the world with animals. We have brought in so many animals into our homes, and some of these animals don't even go through veterinary screening or anything. So an animal with monkeypox, for instance, is common in animals, can give its owner just by scratching the body, or even by licking your face. Because people have dogs that lick their faces.
Yes.
They have monkeys,
even monkeys too.
that they take around on their necks. Yeah.
People go to zoos and then they play with the monkeys.
Exactly. You even feed the monkey bananas. It might eat out of the bananas.
Yes.
So it's easy for this virus to be transmitted because we are crossing some boundaries. I'm not saying that people cannot have pets. You know, I'm not against pets, but you have to be careful with what you are doing. You have to be sure that your pet is free from all these viruses.
And talking about the monkeypox itself, it's not something that you can actually see in the animal called monkey and say, oh, this monkey has this monkeypox, so I'm not going close.
That even makes it dangerous because the monkey might not have any symptoms, might not have any rash. It just has monkeypox. It's a carrier. It's carrying the pox virus. And when you come in contact with the monkey, you probably will not even be able to remember that, oh, I must have gotten it from this monkey.
Yeah.
You probably won't cross your mind.
So now let's talk about the signs and then the symptoms. You've told us that it can be caused through this contact with this pet, which is not bad. You just have to be careful. But before we talk about the signs and then the symptoms, you said something earlier that I remember now, where you said that it has nothing to do with age. A baby of 1 can have monkeypox, but I want to ask, could somebody outgrow monkeypox? There are some viruses that we've heard from medical practitioners such as yourself. They tell us in this studio that when you get to a particular age of 50, 60, this thing is gone. You can't be affected with such. Is that similar to monkeypox, or is it respected of no age bracket?
Well, unfortunately, monkeypox does not respect anybody. It can happen from age 1 to 100 or 200. So it's not age related. It's not age identifiable. So it's not about the age. It's more about being exposed to the virus. So even if you've had monkeypox before, there's still a very high chance that you can have it again. So it's not one of those viruses that you say, oh, you've had it,
so
you can't have it again. No. If you are exposed, it can happen. So monkeypox can affect all ages.
All right, you've heard that from Dr. Ojikutu, a medical practitioner who just confirmed that monkeypox can affect all ages, regardless of your age bracket. You're not exempted. That means you have to be very safe. And how would you be safe? How should you be safe is the next thing we will be talking about today on the issue. We'll talk about the signs and the symptoms, and thereafter we go through the preventions. Dr. Ojikutu, put us through the signs and symptoms. When this is monkeypox, how do we know that this is monkeypox?
So the number one thing I tell people is you need to have a very, very high index of suspicion to be able to really identify monkeypox early. Because the early symptoms you have from monkeypox will be something like fever, can be a sore throat, can be swollen lymph nodes, can be in the neck, it can be just muscle aches. Any typical Nigerian having these symptoms will say, oh, malaria is coming again, and you are left with buying anti-malaria over the counter. But in a few days after the onset of those symptoms, the rash develops. And the funny thing about rash from monkeypox is that it starts from the face.
The face.
And starts spreading down. So it spreads to the hands, and sometimes to the sole of the feet, sometimes to the genitals. Now, that's why people can mix it up with other rash. You say, oh, it might be chickenpox. So people don't know the difference between measles and chickenpox. So they can say, measles. So you have to be very, very prompt about suspecting monkeypox, especially now that we have an outbreak. So if it was maybe a year ago when there was really no cases of monkeypox around, you can probably be thinking of something else. But now that there are cases, active cases, especially in our environment, we need to suspect monkeypox when we have these symptoms.
With what you said, I want us to also clear some myths. Now, one of these myths as regards mpox is the fact that people would assume that it will come and it will go by itself. Another thing is the fact that you just said that it doesn't even start with the swollen hands and all that. You could have other fevers. So, for clarification's sake, another assumption by people is that when they hear mpox, it simply means the swollen body. Is that always the first symptoms, or other things might come first?
Most of the things you have initially will be fever.
Okay.
And maybe sore throat and body pain.
At the early stage.
So in the first few days, maybe 2-3 days. So it's going to be difficult for you to even agree when I tell you it's likely to be monkeypox. Yes. So this is how my malaria presents. That's what you tell me. But by third day, fourth day, you're likely to now see that there's a rash. Malaria will not give you a rash.
Definitely not.
And the whole typhoid we talk about in Nigeria would also not give you a rash. So you're having fever, you're having a rash, you should be going to the hospital. It could just be mpox.
Before we even talk about how to treat it, because I want to believe there are treatment measures, methodologies to go through, let's talk about how to prevent it. Now, before treating it, how can we prevent mpox in itself?
Okay, so there are things that we've forgotten because we are now a bit more relaxed. I remember coming here during COVID and we're talking about hand washing.
Exactly.
So hand washing is like number one in preventing any form of disease at all. Especially diseases that can be transmitted. And so hand washing, hand hygiene, we are no longer doing it as we should. If I ask people now that how many times have you washed your hand today? Well, I'll probably get 0 for an answer. And people no longer carry their alcohol-based hand rub or sanitizers up and down anymore. It was the COVID scare that made us very sharp.
Yeah, it was just about the phobia then.
But now, mpox is as serious as COVID. If we are not careful, we'll be having cases in thousands or hundreds of thousands. So the only way to prevent this from happening is, one, ensure that we perform hand hygiene at all times. So the same way you're doing the COVID, I shake my friend, use a sanitizer. I went somewhere and came in contact with some body fluids or people, hugged someone, go and wash your hands. Because you eat with these hands, you put these hands in your eyes, in your mouth, some in the nostrils. So these are ways that this virus can be spread. Another thing is you have maybe a relative that you suspect has mpox.
Okay.
This is not the time to be over empathetic. Let me put it that way. Some of us feel like, if it's my family member.
This entitlement.
You should actually distance yourself from that person for the period where the rash is still there. By the time the rash crossed over and is healed, fine. Most likely the person is out of the woods and you can now go back to normal relationships. So you should avoid contact with anybody suspicious of having mpox. Now, environmental cleaning, we don't do that as well. We have stopped most of that. We all know about the recent cholera outbreak. Most of it was poor environmental sanitation.
True.
And this will still also propagate mpox. So you don't clean surfaces, you don't clean your household, you don't disinfect. You're at risk of mpox. Someone can have mpox come into your house to visit. Might touch tables, touch your chairs, might even vomit on the floor. I'll say, you had malaria, sorry, go home and rest.
And this is a virus that works with the air.
If you're not disinfecting those surfaces, anybody can come there, place their hands, pick up the virus, and they get infected. So surface disinfection is also very, very important, as well as our environmental cleaning. Most of these viruses will not dwell in relatively clean places. Really. So if you do regular cleaning and environmental sanitation, you are not likely to be at risk of having mpox.
Thank you, Dr. Ojikutu. 23 minutes past the hour of 11 from our studio here. We would accommodate questions, contributions, if at all there are any, on our studio lines 0904 081 1061 or 0904 082 1061. Now, I want to ask, when we talk about mpox, according to some of the things you said, and with the little findings that I made, there are stages to mpox. You know, there is an advanced stage. The early stage is also there. When mpox get to the advanced stage, what does it look like, and what is the advanced stage of monkeypox? What does it look like?
Okay, so just like any disease,
Mm.
there are stages to them.
Mm.
There's the early phase where you just have probably regular symptoms and your body is able to cope. Now, your immunity might not be as optimal as it should be,
Okay.
and that might be a determinant as to how the disease will progress or regress.
Mm.
Now, you have people with the extreme of ages, children, elderly. Their immune system is not as strong as those in the middle age.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if someone that is very old with some other medical conditions
Mm.
has mpox, the symptoms become aggravated.
Mm.
So, the regular fever, body pains you have might triple,
Mm.
and it becomes a problem. There's this confusion as to is it just the mpox
Oh,
or
there
is
is more.
something else going on?
Mm.
And so some people, yes, it might be self-limiting. It means that you can have it and in 2 days it just dwindles on its own.
Mm.
You can be that lucky. But for some, it can be aggravated. You start having shutdown of systems.
Mm.
Kidneys can shut down, the heart can shut down. Because this disease is not something that we already have 100% facts about, really.
Mm-hmm.
There are still ongoing research as to what else can happen with mpox.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way is to just prevent it.
Mm.
Having it and trying to find out what would happen, well,
Mm.
that's a huge risk. So yes, the disease can progress and can even lead to death in some cases.
Mm.
However, we have seen over time that majority of people do tend to do well even after having mpox, as long as they present early.
As long as they present early. Now, talking about the advanced mpox will bring me down to another question that I would ask. Curiosity make me ask this one, that when you talk about duration, how long is this so-called virus? How long does it last in the body before one might, recover or die?
Okay, so viruses generally,
Mm.
they usually tend to have a lifespan of between a week and 2 weeks.
A week and 2 weeks.
So you can have a respiratory tract infection now, and in 5-7 days, it's gone,
Okay.
even without taking medications.
Mm.
Because usually that's the average lifespan of viruses.
Mm.
So they would take their course and they will go.
Mm.
However, the damage they've done might still be there.
Okay.
Do you understand that?
Mhm.
So it's possible that the mpox has come, you've had all the symptoms.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it has caused complications where systems are shutting down, where organs are shutting down.
Mm.
If that is happening, the mpox itself might actually have gone, but the complications it has
There's an aftermath.
caused, there's an aftermath. Might be what will lead to the death of that person.
Mm.
And like I said, there's still ongoing research. Like I said, there are 2 different strains, and there's a very virulent strain. So if you have the virulent strain, it's likely that even the mpox itself will keep attacking your body till the person gives up.
Just recently, just like how it was in 2021, where a lot of medical practitioners such as yourself were up and running, looking for solutions, research were just everywhere. That is going on again currently. Now, can you put us through how is it like as regards, the vaccine? Has there been any vaccine whatsoever in order to be able to treat this deadly disease called mpox? Now, this is talking about the treatment.
So yes, there are vaccines for mpox. Many viruses, to an extent, have vaccines that can prevent them.
Mm.
However, it's not a vaccine that is readily
Available.
It's not something we get naturally or we put in our schedule that mpox. Because mpox was not really our thing.
True.
So most of the vaccines we have around are things that actually we face regularly.
Yeah.
So for you to say, you want to get mpox vaccine, it would require a lot of work, especially from the presidency or government as a whole. So it's not something you can say, let me get mpox vaccine tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. The vaccine was really created for those that have had exposure to mpox, not really as a preventer vaccine. So people don't routinely get vaccines for mpox, really. So it's not something that is readily available. Let me put it that way. Yes, there are vaccines, but We're in Nigeria. I'm not sure you get the vaccine so
But
easily.
then there are vaccines,
Yes, of course.
but not very much available that way. Now, I recall the time of coronavirus, I could barely recognize Dr. Ojikutu because I never even saw your real face. You were all guarded up and all that. At least this is different now, and I recognize that this is Dr. Ojikutu. Now, let me come down to the government. Let me streamline it down to General Hospital Ikorodu. What are the preparations like? What are the plans like? Monkeypox is here already. Are there provisions in order to tackle this in this part of our state, Lagos?
Okay, so I would say kudos to General Susu Korodu. We have an infection prevention and control team
Okay.
that has been on ground since the COVID era.
Mm.
And we have been doing regular trainings for staff.
Okay.
Also, we do awareness programs,
Mm.
just like what we're having now, just to ensure that we prepare the minds of everybody.
Mm.
COVID was here and it left.
Mm-hmm.
There was cholera. Now we are talking mpox. Something can come tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So we are always ready for whatever outbreak is going to happen.
Mm.
And that's the reason why, even after every victory, we shouldn't relax.
Mm.
So for Justice Korodu, yes, we are well prepared for mpox as it is, or any outbreak as it comes. We were very active during the cholera outbreak. We had very, very good outcomes. And so I'm sure that even with mpox, we are on top of the game.
All right, you've heard that. Even with mpox, they are always on top of their game. General Hospital Ikorodu. How can this disease, this virus, be treated? What is the treatment process like? How long does it take to treat mpox? How well will a person be even after treating mpox? Let's go through the treatment process.
Okay, so treatment for mpox starts from identifying the case.
Okay.
So your treatment actually starts from when you present. So you've presented with something looking like mpox. Now, generally, when someone has something that is very contagious, it's always good to remove the person from the general public.
Yes.
It's not because we are trying to discriminate. No, it's because we are looking at safety of the populace. You might be a very lucky person and the virus has no harm on you. But what about the next person? So if we don't isolate, let me use the word isolate, it's likely that that spread will continue. So imagine coming to the hospital to Korodu, we have thousands of patients coming in every day. And we just keep you, who has the suspected mpox, with the regular patients. There's likelihood that you will interact with them, relatives will come in, and the spread will start. So one of the major ways to even start treating is to remove that person from the general place.
Okay, before you go ahead, let's take this first call. Hello to you. Yes, good morning. Thank you for calling. Talk to us.
Thank you very much. This kind of situation so shameful to Nigeria economic community because it's our enemies behind this kind of a man-made disease. We witness it separately, and from your quest there, we learned that it's like Ebola, like COVID-19. All these one are man-made disease. The under conventional hostility. Take for instance, yesterday when I want to go out, 5 minutes I left my country house. I lost all my energy and I collapsed. My success, I have a very, very effective body resistance that used to resist any hazardous chemical, and I fermented everything. I recover my energy. So they used to put poison, anything hazardous chemical in the food of good people in this country. And what I was told every day I used to consume poisonous food, but I used through my.
Okay, we lost that call there. But he is of the belief that it is not just ordinary. This is a way to get at Nigerians or Africans to reduce the population. That was where he was driving. Do you believe, maybe I should ask you, Doctor, that do you believe this mpox is all a set-up thing? Because I've also heard that before. It's part of the myths. If you talk about mpox, some have come out to say that mpox is a deliberate attempt to reduce the population of Nigerians. Hello, who's there? Yes, hello, good morning. Thank you. That's the voice of Babade. Please go ahead, talk to us.
God forbid anybody falling sick at this period. Yes,
The doctor has analyzed this and this and this and that. If someone is infected, does the person have enough money to take care of himself?
Mm.
It's one very big problem.
Mm.
Aside that, apparently you have observed that I have always been emphasizing this orientation agency
Mm.
in anything that we do. Am I talking to
Yes, yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please.
right? The COVID came and went. Cholera came and went. Is another one today. Tomorrow something else will come. I am saying that we should not be treating diseases and epidemics. We should really be, preventing. And how do we prevent?
Mm.
Through proper orientation from the so-called, I don't care what name you call it, some agencies must be there at all times, to tell us about some of these things. And especially those of us in Ikorodu, take it or yes, Ikorodu is a rural area. Kí ló dé tọ́wọ́ gbé mọ́tò síta àrùn báyìí wà ká. Let people do this and this and this and this and that. It's a lot cheaper to prevent than to cure. God forbid, if anybody is sick now, can we get the money to treat ourselves at the hospital? Well, like our pessimistic attitude to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Babadi. And I also want to agree with him there, saying that prevention is better than cure. It surprised me a lot to see how very active, not just active, but hyperactive we were as Nigerians during the time of COVID. And all of a sudden, everybody just went off the guard again. And then we started living our day-to-day life, forgetting that there are other diseases. And here is our Mpox right now. Now, going back to that myth there that the first caller talked about, do you think that Mpox is a way to reduce the population of Africans? Because that is another belief of some people.
So, well, if people are entitled to their beliefs,
that's definitely true.
But scientifically, if they wanted to create something to eradicate the world, it wouldn't be Mpox. Mpox is not as bad, as virulent as something that will wipe out a community completely. You understand? So,
and there are other things that could have been done that would have
done. They would have escalated the virus or tweaked the virus in a way that once you get it, you are gone. You understand? So I don't really agree with that.
I don't agree too. So if you have that kind of notion, I need you to clear that off your head. Let's take another call before we go. Okay, that has dropped. Let's talk about how to prevent it. You've started a conversation. Please, let's go ahead with that.
So I like what Babade said.
Yes.
The awareness is very important. And what I would say is we are all stakeholders when it comes to this. Healthcare is not something just the doctors or medical staff should be the ones bothered about. It's something even the whole community should lend a hand to. There's nothing wrong in CDAs inviting teams from hospitals to come and talk to people in their community. Really, as CDA chairmans, we are having an outbreak. You could invite some hospital to come talk to people around your community just to increase their awareness, equip them with what they need to know as to how to prevent this and what to do. We need to own our health care. Let's own it as a community. Let's be part of it. Let's join the fight.
That is in line with what Baba Ade said. Yes, so now still talking about this prevention. One of the reasons why you came here today from General Hospital is to create awareness like you're doing already. When you talk about how to treat monkeypox, how affordable is it? Because there are some viruses that to treat them, it will cost you a lot. How affordable is it to cure Mpox?
So the good thing about Mpox is that most of the symptoms you have are symptoms that can be treated easily. Where the challenge comes is when you have a very virulent type of virus that would require some extra adjuncts to your treatment. It might not be the regular treatment. Maybe someone has a renal kidney shutdown. Of course, you might need maybe dialysis. You might need... So things like that are rare. They happen on very rare occasions. But majorly regular mpox that is not so bad. In a few days, the person is going on. So
How about financially?
Financially, it's not going to drain you.
Financially,
yes.
you can categorically say that. The whole of Lagos can hear you say this.
Yes, of course.
It's not draining.
Yeah, so you think about our healthcare, really in general hospitals, and I can speak for general hospital in Ikorodu, is that is relatively affordable. There are things you might treat in some other hospitals with maybe 500,000, and you probably spend less than 50,000 in Ikorodu.
The reason I asked this question, Dr. Ojikutu, is because during the time of Mpox in 2021, then I knew so much about the story. I did a lot of research. There was this woman who almost died due to Mpox. And one of the things that she said, she's from the northern part. I can't remember that state now. I've been struggling with that. But one of the things I picked out of her statement is because the way she was beginning to look, her hands were swollen, her faces. So she hit herself, which is still more like stigmatization. Now, what do you have to say? What can you tell people about stigmatization? When people see these things, they stigmatize you. And then because of that, you run down to your shell and you don't even want to come out. And people like that will just die in their corridors. What can you say about stigmatization? Because Mpox also carries the stigma.
So what I would want to say is that every life matters. And we need to imbibe that culture as a people. People have HIV, they have tuberculosis. Once people know about that, they tend to run from them. And it makes those people hide away and try not to relate with people, and most of them don't even come back for their drugs. They just give up. And so we as a people have a role to play. When someone has something that looks like Mpox, no matter what it is really, you know that, oh, if you don't come in contact with it, you're not likely to have it. What we should be concerned with is, oh, are you getting treatment? What have you been doing? Because, well, if the person has Mpox and you say, oh, I'm running away from the person, somebody you know might actually come in contact with that person and still bring it back to you. So really, are you really helping yourself? No. So if you're going to help yourself, you should actually be interested in helping that person. So stigmatization is just something we should still be doing in this era. Really. There's a lot of information everywhere. There are diseases that don't just jump. Really, let's put it that way. But if you can just take some precautions, you are good.
Now, talking about not running from these people, some people will still give you valid reasons because they know this is contagious. Now, let's talk about people that have relatives or family members that are fighting this virus or battling with this virus. How best, medically as a medical practitioner, how best can you advise us Nigerians to deal with someone around us who is suffering from Mpox?
Really, the ideal thing to do is to take that person to the nearest hospital.
Okay.
You know, even during COVID, people were isolating at home. And that was majorly because the centers were full. Ideally, it should not be happening because you cannot be as careful as people that are trained to handle these things. So, yes, don't let us take any chances. Don't take any risk. There's someone with Mpox at home. Please take the person to the nearest hospital. They know what to do. In a few days, your relative is back to you. So just give them that time to heal and come back home so we can reduce the spread of Mpox.
Rather than just start boiling warm water for them. Some will tell you warm water and salt is the cure to... Have you heard that before?
Yeah, it happened during COVID too. People were drinking all sorts of salted water.
Somebody became an alcoholic addict because he wants to clear COVID-19. Exactly. And he said he heard that if you drink dry gin very well,
it won't affect you.
Okay, it is the issues, and we have less than 10 minutes to sign out. I want to thank you very much. You know, sometimes I'm trying to imagine, can I ever be a doctor looking at the time of coronavirus, looking at the time of Mpox and all of this? How do you deal with it? Knowing fully well that you've gone through the test, you've seen it, you've confirmed it that this person is suffering from Mpox or any of these diseases like corona. How is it for you people? How do you deal with it?
So yes, it can be very challenging. You know, apart from being a doctor, you are human.
True.
And so regardless of your training, there's still that consciousness at the back of your mind that your life is at stake. So, but that's the thing with training. When you are trained, there's this confidence that comes with it because you know what to do. So I would say for medical practitioners in Nigeria generally, we have very, very well trained practitioners. We tend to overlook it or downplay it. But these are people that are doing well abroad. Their training was here. It wasn't done abroad, really. So it shows that we have what it takes to battle any disease, and that already gives us that confidence to undo this. And also, if you have an enabling environment where your management or the government is also assisting, it also makes it better. You know, you need this is available, you need that, you can get it. It makes the work easy. You would not even think about the likelihood of getting it because you know that you are doing the right thing. So yes, it's challenging, of course, and that's why we don't want an escalation of the cases. No, if it becomes overwhelming, the likelihood of error or risk is higher. By the time you are having 200, 300, 400 people with maybe 10 medical practitioners, of course, once you are tired, the likelihood of error is high. So we also need to ensure that prevention is a major aim. Let's reduce the spread, prevent people from getting Mpox. That way, the little cases that we have, we can fantastically deal with them.
Let me press it a little bit more, Dr. Ojikutu, because I want to know. Talking about being tired, you as a person, when you get tired, what do you do? Now, as an individual, let's take this call. Hello. Hello, you're on. Yes, we can hear you now. Okay, please.
I'm in love of our generation. For one reason or the other. One, our generation is the most successful generation. That have a lot of scientific experience that can help our generation to succeed. But in this kind of woman health issue. Are you getting my point? We want to know we have no need to, and we need to know more to find a lasting solution. All the people that they are interested constitute the economy obstacle to the nation. We know little about them, and we need to know more so that we can solve their problem. I don't be enemy of any members of which union, but I need to separate all the hate spirit that constitute the economy obstacle to the nation. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria and God bless you too. Thank you very much. Coming down to you, Dr. Ojikutu. A few more minutes to leave, but going back to that question, and this would also help. I want to believe it will help, incoming medical practitioners that are aspiring to getting into that position that you currently are in. Whenever you get tired, looking at the time of coronavirus, Mpox, this is not the first time, this is not the second time. How do you deal with these things medically as a medical practitioner? How do you wind down? How do you relax? How do you overcome the pressure?
Okay, so I'm someone that really likes my phone.
Okay.
People that know me, maybe 22 or 23 hours in a day, I'm probably on my phone. So music, movies, just even chatting with friends, really, does a lot of magic for me. So when I'm tired, I just look for someone I can talk to, just talk to someone, and before you know it, you start to feel good. So that's how I...
Has there been any time for you, Dr. Ojikutu, and you feel like, no, I'm done with this job, I'm tired?
So yeah, it happens quite a while, quite sometimes.
Considering the nation and all of that.
Exactly. The whole attrition with medical practitioners in Nigeria is a lot. I can say there's practically no hospital that has not felt it. So there are times where you are overwhelmed and you feel like, are you sure I'm doing the right thing or just leave this profession? But the good thing about it is you attend to people, they get well. Some say thank you. He has a way of lifting your spirit. You just feel like, hey, I'm actually doing well. Yeah. So that alone is a motivation.
Keeps you going.
Yes. So,
I was with the MD, Dr. Taiwo, who I like to call him Prince because he's a father and of course a friend of mine. And then he was doing a lot of recommendation for all of his doctors just recently. And it was like, okay, I don't joke with my doctors. They are really trying. He gave me the breakdown of those that have flied away. He was just doing all of that. And he gave his recommendation. So I would also seize this time out to say well done to every medical practitioner. And I'm saying well done to you too as well, Dr. Ojikutu, because you're doing well. And that is also coming directly from the man I call the Prince, Dr. Taiwo Azan. Now, this will be the last question before we sign out. You said earlier that except in cases where other illnesses or diseases gets in, that is when Mpox becomes very complicated. So I want to ask, could there be other diseases or infections that is in line with Mpox if that is well placed? What I mean is, could Mpox get to a point that it would open doors for other infections or diseases or viruses?
Okay, so ideally, getting a viral infection to an extent also deals with your immunity.
Okay.
So if I have a viral infection now, I know something has happened to me in a few days before now.
Mm.
So somehow my immunity has a bit dropped to an extent. So the fact that you already have Mpox already tells you that all is not 100% well.
Exactly.
And the fact that there's a virus going on already starts to fight your own body's defense system. And that way you are further at risk of other things. Now, someone with Mpox has a rash. The rash can get infected by a bacteria. That's a different ball game. You started with Mpox, but you're now dealing with some sepsis or skin infection. And that can also in turn cause renal shutdown, kidney shutdown, can cause the heart to shut down. So all that might not be directly from Mpox, but Mpox gave way.
Yeah, open the
for
windows.
all those things to come in. So you need to understand the concept of immunity. If your immunity is low enough or not optimal at the point that you get an infection, it means other infections can come.
Okay, let's take this one. This is from our social media here, where this person wants to know, does the blood group or genotype has anything to do with quick catch of Mpox? This person wants to know the fact that maybe your, I'm assuming now, maybe your AS or your SS, does that open the doors that you have higher tendencies of being infected with Mpox?
Okay, so to not give wrong information, there's really no research that has proven that being genotype this or that, or having blood group this or that, has anything to do with Mpox. So it's just deals with you and your immunity and your exposure. So you can even be living with probably HIV. If you don't come in contact with someone with Mpox, you are not likely to have Mpox. So really, naturally, we are not prone to Mpox till we go and look for this virus ourselves. So genotype or blood group doesn't have anything to do with getting Mpox.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ojikutu, for your time today. On the issues, what will be your parting words? You signing out from the studio here, and Mpox is here. It is real. It is not just a mere saying. It has been confirmed in states, including Lagos here. What would your advice be to every Nigerian out there listening to you at this time as a medical practitioner?
So I'm going to say that we need to be on our guard. We need to ensure that we are back to doing the right thing. Regular hand washing, use of sanitizers, environmental cleaning and disinfection, and also ensuring that when you suspect that someone has Mpox, please encourage them to go to the hospital, and let's keep a bit of distance from such people at that time, so that we do not also propagate the spread of this virus. If we don't increase the spread, I'm sure as a nation we are good. We are in good hands, and I'm sure that will be fine.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Ojikutu. This is how far we can have it today on the issues. We've gone far behind time while we talk about the monkeypox virus. It's been a very beautiful, educative time, and we have learned. I hope every one of you out there also learned from this conversation today. I am Opeyemi Adebambo. Until next week, Thursday, where we will have another healthy conversation on the issues. Before then, stay healthy, stay safe, and remember, health is wealth. Thank you very much, Dr. Ojikutu.
Thank you, Opeyemi.
Thank you very much for listening to us. It's a bye for now.